What's up YouTube, it's Dean Charles Anthony II here again with another YouTube video, and today we're going to talk about why the 50mm lens is the lens that every photographer should keep in their bag. So I'm going to give y'all 5 reasons of why I believe regardless of what you shoot, what you do, you should have a 50mm lens in your bag. Kick it off. So reason number 1. The 50mm is the first lens that you'll buy that will improve your photography. So I know this might sound a little bit controversial, but let me explain. Most of us, when we first buy our 50mm lens, we're coming from a kit lens. So we're coming from like an 18 to 55 or something in that range, right? And particularly with these very aperture zooms and just kit lens in general, that 50mm will be your sharpest lens so far. It's going to give you that first time option to stop down to that 1.8, that 1.4, that 1.2. It's going to give you the first time that you're actually having to frame with your feet versus which I did a lot of framing with the zoom on the lens versus framing for what's best for the image. So that 50mm is going to really test you. It's going to make you ask some questions. It's going to make you actually have to pay attention to controlling your depth of field. Like, yes, it's great to blur out the background, but do we have everything in focus? It's going to make you have to really rethink the art of what photography is. And so that 50mm with both its power and its constraints is going to be a lens that just helps you grow as a photographer very fast. I still remember when I first got my 50mm jumping from, I want to say, a 70D to the 5D Mark III. I was able to just really expand my art by just sticking with this one lens for a very long time. And I think it's just a better lens to start off with than, say, an 85 or a 35 because it's in that sweet spot where you can get the both of best worlds. So I think using that 85mm, excuse me, not the 85, using the 50mm lens is truly the first step into becoming a true artist and a true professional photographer. Reason number 2, it's the best price prime that you could possibly get. The 50mm comes in a range of prices, but particularly, especially the entry-level 50mm, those 1.8s, it's priced cheaper than other primes in general. So usually you can get what we always call the nifty 50. That's the 1.8. You can get that from a range from $100 to $200, which is just priced a little bit better, I would say, than a lot of the other primes in this price range. So you get a lens that's a best of both worlds, so like I mentioned earlier, but for a great price. So you get to save a few bucks, or you can spend actually a little bit more. I know for me, instead of getting the 1.8, I end up getting the 1.4, and it's because I can save that money to get instead of getting the 85 or trying to get that same equivalent for a 35mm, which I thought was a better deal, and I believe was right. So with that 50mm, you can get it for a great price. It's gonna be the best price lens that you can get, especially going back to jumping out of that kit lens. So reason number 3 that the 50mm should be in your bag right now is because of quality. Honestly, if you're just looking for a lens that holds quality over time, that is reliable, that across brands, you know, whether you're Sony, Canon, Nikon, anything. If I was switching into any company, I think the first thing I'm gonna do is to buy a 50mm. Even though y'all heard me say that the 70-200 is my favorite focal length, my favorite lens to use. The 50mm is just a high quality, reliable lens that no matter where I'm going, I would take that lens with me. So that 50mm is definitely a lens of always high quality that if you're looking for quality, I would definitely just start off with the 50mm lens. And if you're questioning like what's the best quality versus this versus that, and you're in kind of like a split space, go with the 50mm. Reason number 4 that you should have that 50mm in your bag right now is that for about 80% of photography, you can use it. Outside of truly far distance, are very, very wide shots that you are unable to get further back, you can use the 50mm lens for almost anything. If you're talking about for portraitures, if you're talking about for weddings, if you're talking about for some closer up sports, you know, especially if you have a higher megapixel camera that allows you to crop, you know, work with me, people. But it is a universal lens. There is not too many genres of photography that you could not get away with having a 50mm. When it comes to going back to quality, when it comes to having a low aperture so you're able to get better shots at night, when it comes to events, especially if you're able to get a little bit closer to your subject, maybe not so much music, but like other events, that 50mm is absolutely amazing. It's great for family portraits. It's great for group shots, as long as you're able to back up in the way that you need. And once again, like, it's sharp, it has high quality, and it's just a universally amazing lens. There's not too many ways of photography, too many genres of photography that you can't take that 50mm out. Street photography, that's the other one I was forgetting. That you can take that 50mm out and just do the job and do it well. As long as you know what you're doing, that 50mm, it'll cover everything that you need in photography. And so reason number 5 that I would suggest that you have a 50mm lens in your bag is that size. Yeah, it's just the size. The 50mm for the most part are pretty light lenses, especially compared to other primes and zoom lenses. I'll actually give you an example real quick. So right here I have my this is actually a 50mm 1.4. This is if you're not using if you're using DSLRs, this is actually what I would suggest. This is the first 50mm I ever bought. And then this is the 50mm 1.2 with the RF lens. Both of them are pretty, like, I know this one's pretty large, but they're small for the sizes that they're compared to in with their other primes and their other zooms. So I'll give you another example. All right. So here's the other example. Here is a 16-35, which is just as big as that 50mm. Actually, I feel it doesn't weigh, it may weigh about the same. Here's a 24-70, just comparing them. And if we're comparing that 1.4 to another, to a similar lens, the 85, what is this? Is this also a 1.4? 1.8. This is bigger than that. So when it comes to just size in general, keeping just a 50 with all its versatility is just smarter on your bag. And I'm saying smarter in the sake of weight and size and how much stuff you put in the bag, not smarter if you're like you have something else that you need to do. But those are my 5 reasons that you should have a 50mm in your bag. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you would go a different route, especially if you're talking to a beginner and what would be the first camera lens that you would tell them to buy? I would tell them to buy a 50mm. Would you say a 35? Would you say a 24-70? Either way, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and let me know how you feel about the 50mm in the comments. Thank y'all so much. This is another video by Dean Charles Anthony II. Y'all have a great day.